Good evening and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm your host, Doug Engler. Joining me as always in the co-host seats are our good friends, Mr. Darren Starling
Hello.
and Miss Angela Rose.
Hello, everyone.
And tonight, Angela, why don't you introduce our guest?
Tonight we have a good friend of mine who happens to be an artist, who's going to have an Artist Alley table at Anime Boston. So we've got Aetherix with us.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I know that there's a lot of pressure with Anime Boston next weekend. Everybody's feeling the crunch. Cosplayers, artists, vendors alike. Even us on the press side of things are trying to make sure we have everything in order for that. We are excited about being able to get out there. And hello to all of you awesome people in the chat, John Knight and None Your Business. Hello to you guys.
None Your Business says good morning, y'all. And I suppose it's morning somewhere.
And also want to throw a quick happy birthday to my wife, whose birthday was today. So,
oh, happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
So we are excited about having Aetherix join us. For our listeners out there and viewers out there who may have never heard of you, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I am a self-taught digital artist. I am a webcomic creator and aspiring fantasy author. I played a lot of RPGs, so a lot of my art is very inspired or focused around, those kinds of themes and elements. I have a lot of Final Fantasy fan art, and there will always be more. But yeah, I've been doing art for a really long time, but I didn't actually start to take it seriously until after COVID. So I've really only been pursuing this professionally for 3-ish years, I would say. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far.
Now, doing the Final Fantasy fan art that you've been doing, is there a specific game that you prefer to do the art for? 7, 9, 10, 10, 2, any of those? Or
I would say 7 and 14. 7 is my favorite game of all time, and then I'd say 14 is my favorite MMO, but I've put too many hours into both of them, and I'm very, very attached.
The only Final Fantasy game I've ever finished was 9.
I never got to finish 9 because when I played it, my disc 2, one of the cutscenes kept freezing, and so I never got to finish it. So I will at some point, but
they do have it for the Switch.
They also have it on Game Pass.
Oh,
because I started it on Game Pass at one point and then got horribly lost in a map and kept hitting I don't know where I'm going, and then hit now I'm having random encounter that I'm not leveled enough for, and then just eventually got too busy and then never went back to it. And from the chat to you, John Knight wants to know who your favorite character is from Final Fantasy.
Ooh, that it has to be Sephiroth. Definitely hands down.
And what got you interested in becoming a digital artist?
So I used to take any art class I could when I was a kid. My mom was super into art and drawing and painting, and so I kind of just took after her. But when it came to digital art, one of my friends was she had just gotten into digital art. She bought herself a tablet with her allowance. We were both 13, 14 at the time. And I was like, that's so cool. I want to try that out. And it was so different to switch from traditional to digital. And I was so lost and so confused. Sometimes I was still confused even now, but I used to see a lot of artists on Tumblr, and I was like, that's so cool. I want to do that. And everyone on back when DeviantArt was the place to be at the time. But Yeah, I think recently what got me more into it is I had the idea for my webcomic and I had these characters and they were just sitting in my head and I wasn't doing anything with it. And I'm like, you know what? I think it's time to just get back into it and just give it a shot. And so now here I am.
And hello in the chat to Sharka and Pop Girl who have come in. It's great to see everybody coming in. A lot of familiar faces, some that we haven't seen in a while, some regulars. So thank you to everybody for tuning in.
And what was the first? I know you said you started doing this post COVID and whatnot. What was the first con you did an artist alley for? Or
Actually,
vendor?
it was Otakon last year. That was my first artist alley. I got thrown right into the fire, I guess. I was so nervous, but I had a friend who's been doing it for a long time and she was like, "Do you want to split a table with me?" And I was like, "Sure." I don't have any art though. Like I have some stuff from my webcomic and that's about it. And she's like, "Okay, well time to make more." And I was like, "Okay." And so she's the one that got me into it. So it was quite the first con to have, that's for sure.
Yeah, Otacon's one of the bigger ones.
Yep.
And then is Anime Boston your first for this year?
Yes. Yep. I have been prepping nonstop for the past like 2 months. Since I found out I got in, I have been going absolutely ham. I have been telling myself I'm not allowed to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth until I get my work done. So it's been a good motivator.
A good plan. I haven't actually started Rebirth yet either. But I also have a different video game to finish on top of the fact that husband is still finishing Rebirth.
Plus, you're in the middle of back-to-back cons.
That too.
Mhm.
And we're excited for Anime Boston coming up next weekend. And you said you've been to Anime Boston before. Is this your first time as in the Artist Alley with Anime Boston?
Yes. So I've been an attendee for a long time. So this is my first year actually being in the Artist Alley.
I was
So
gonna
I'm
say,
very excited.
if I remember correctly, which I might not be, the year I met all of you, were you in the masquerade?
Yes, I think so. We were in it a lot.
Because there was a couple of different groups that year, and I think that was the year AJ was also in the masquerade.
Yeah, I think that was 2014 maybe?
I think here it was either 13 or 14. It would have been
Yeah.
either 13 or 14.
I forget which year. Around there, yeah.
Around there.
And Pop Girl in the chat says that she hopes to go to Anime Boston in 2025. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. And fun fact, the weather will be significantly better then because next year both PAX East and Anime Boston will be in May.
Oh.
1 week apart again, or are they going to separate it a little bit more?
Thankfully, no. I'm going to triple check, but I believe Anime Boston someone posted the date, and Anime Boston is going to be, I know coming up, it's Anime Boston is going to be Memorial Day, and I think it's next year.
I hope it doesn't overlap with Anime-Zing. I'll be so sad.
Anime-Zing, actually, Darren, I think that's the one that's local to you.
That's correct. That's my local con.
I will also be there this year.
I will look for you.
Because the joys of being digital is all of us are in different states.
Yeah. And Sean Knight says his birthday is on Memorial Day this year.
I'm going to remember that.
And Pop Girl, I know, is from the UK, so it's going to be a big deal for her to come out to Anime Boston because she's coming across the pond, so to speak. And we're excited with everything going on. And again, looking at a lot of the artwork that you've done, and I have your Facebook page pulled up, which I know you said that you don't keep up with it
Yeah,
as much as you'd like to,
yeah.
but you still have a lot of amazing art that's up here.
Thank you. Yeah, I
So
mostly
I
post
wanted,
on Instagram.
so I wanted to share the screen so our viewers can see some of the artwork that you've done. And I don't know if you can see the pictures. If you could tell us a little bit about the characters that you've drawn.
Okay. Oh wow. So it's a hard time talking about my stuff, but I'll do my best. So this is one of the main characters of my webcomic. His name is Thanatos. He is a sorcerer. Um, there's not I can't say too much about him because there's a lot of spoilers around his backstory that will spoil a lot of the comic that I haven't gotten to yet. Um, but there's not much I can say about him without completely spoiling a lot though. But trying to think, what else can I say about him? I guess he's very like cold, mysterious, withdrawn. He has a lot of secrets that he's hiding. Um and I can't get into any of those.
That's okay.
I'll just chime in with go if you get it. We'll give out the links. But if people want to check out the webcomic, I've read pieces of it and it's amazing.
Thank you. I haven't updated it in a while, mainly because I'm actually working on a novel adaptation. I think it's just a better format for me to tell my story because I'm only one person and trying to draw all of the panels on my
Me
own
too.
is kind of it's a lot for one person to handle. And so trying the pace that I update my comic at, I wouldn't finish the first book for like years. So I decided to just kind of put it on the back burner for now, but like work on it when I feel like it. But I'm more focused on working on it as a novel. I just think it's a much better format, and there's a lot more that I can get away with that Webtoon won't yell at me for. So,
And I
Sorry about that. My daughter wanted to come down and give me a hug and a kiss before going to bed.
Aw. I'm gonna say I love the Shadow Heart. I also spent way too many hours in Baldur's Gate 3.
I think my fiance we played co-op. My fiance probably logged like over 100 hours in our first playthrough.
So I have to ask, who did you guys have for a party?
So it was me and my fiance. He was playing a paladin. I was playing and I went Gloomstalker Assassin.
Nice.
And then we had Astarion and Shadowheart.
And hello to Mario in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. Great to see you. Another one of our international audience members. Always great to see Mario in the chat. At some point, and you and Mario need to do your AOT.
Yes, we do.
Great session.
Brooke, or Aetherix, I don't remember. Did you watch Attack on Titan?
I have seen the first season when it came out.
We finally finished it. We waited for the final parts of the final season, and then we binged a lot of the final season all at once. And the ending annoyed me so much.
Oh no.
And we did have another question for you, Aetherix, from the chat. John Knight wants to know, are you into anime and who got you into it?
I am. I surprisingly I don't have a lot of anime fan art. I just haven't gotten around to like finding something I'm like super inspired to draw. But my sister and my brother got me into it when we were little. My sister got me into Inuyasha, and I used to watch Dragon Ball Z with my brother. So that's how I got into it.
Inuyasha is the hat that I'm wearing today.
Oh my god!
I actually found
Wait,
one with the
I
dog
didn't even
ears.
notice. Oh my god, that's amazing.
I wear this hat everywhere. I get so many comments and compliments about it. It's great to see people who look up and go, "Oh my god, he's got ears on his hat."
I
and
love
they
it.
just watch and
Um,
they have to comment.
the other thing that surprised me at PAX, speaking of anime, was the amount of anime cosplays I saw. You'd just from various anime, a fair amount of Ruby, a fair amount of what was the other one? Actually, more than one One Piece cosplay, and so on, and just it surprised me.
I was gonna say, did you see some Dragon Ball cosplay?
Not that I noticed.
I didn't know if because of uh, the passing of the creator, if people were gonna be going haywire with the Dragon Ball stuff this year.
I didn't notice, but also because I never watched it, it's not like it would have stood out to me personally.
Not true. That's one of the questions that my wife and I have been like jokingly asking. What anime is going to have like the most cosplay at Anime Boston?
Straw poll, what do you think?
I don't know about anime, but I feel like one of the more popular things this year, I feel like is going to be Has-Been Hotel from what I've seen.
Has-Been Hotel was actually, my wife got me to watch it and it was actually really good. It was
I
better than I
haven't
thought it
seen
was
it
going to
yet.
be. I think Alistair is one of my favorite characters, the radio demon.
I did see an Alistair cosplay.
If I was going to cosplay anybody from that show, it would probably be him.
I have a feeling we're still gonna see a lot of Genshin Impact and also a lot of
Honkai Star Rail.
thank you. That's the game.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how much Freerin cosplay we're going to see. Not just of Freerin herself, but the characters from the show. Are we going to see Starks? Are we going to see Ferns? Are we going to see Ubels and some of the other characters from that? Especially where it just finished dropping in Japanese this past Friday. And that's a series that's really well done, in my opinion. It's true fantasy. It's a nice change from all the isekai.
Did you notice that the full schedule, subject to change, Anime Boston posted the complete schedule.
I did see that. I was looking through that and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what panels would we like to try to go to and things of that nature, when the concerts are. Because let's be honest, I want to see Baby Beard in concert. I think that would be a fun one.
What about you? Did you look at the schedule or notice?
I think that was to our guest, right?
Yep.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. But is there like something outside of Artist Alley for Anime Boston that you're particularly looking forward to?
When I looked at the schedule, there's not like a whole lot of things going on outside of like the Artist Alley hours, but I did see there was like an 18 plus game show that sounded really fun. It's based off of I think Taskmaster on BBC. And so I saw that and I was like, wait, this sounds really fun. So I want to see if I can make it to that if I'm not too tired after Artist Alley. But
And
we'll
if you're
see.
not easily offended, I know Greg Ayers is going to have an 18 plus panel, I believe, Friday night. Yeah, and the one that I attended years ago was absolutely hysterical. Greg's an awesome person anyway. And being an 18 plus, you just never know what's going to happen in those panels with
It's
the voice
always the
actors.
most fun part.
So that's one to. I think that was like a 10 o'clock or 10 or 10:30 start on that. I believe. I know it was later in the night.
That's definitely doable time wise.
again, it all comes down to how exhausted are you after tabling.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
It's only 10 hours instead of 12 hours for Friday, which is a nice
But
change, but it's
but that's
still
still exhausting.
It is a lot. Yeah.
And then in the chat, another question for you. John Knight is asking if you've ever watched the Show by Rock.
I have not. No.
That's a musical style anime and one of Doug's favorites.
I don't think I've heard of it before. I haven't watched a lot of anime like recently. I've just been more like tunneling into any RPG I can get my hands on, but
Yep.
Show by Rock is English dubbed, so if you just want something to put on in the background, the music in it's really good. And for Show by Rock seasons 1, 2, and Show by Rock Mashimai Resh, even the songs are English dubbed.
okay.
And Show by Rock Stars, the songs are not English dubbed, but everything else is. And it's got all kinds of music. It's not just like an idol anime or something like that. You've got some traditional Japanese music. You've got rock. You've got pop. They cover a lot of different genres of music.
That's cool.
Yep. Another question for you, because the chat's now talking about Black Butler and
Oh
the
my
fact
gosh.
the fact that it's coming back at some point soon, real soon. Did you actually watch Black Butler previously?
I was obsessed with it in high school. Oh my god. I haven't caught up on like any of like the recent manga. I think I stopped watching it like right when I got into college, but I'm excited for more. I'm very excited.
And in the chat, Pop Girl said that she is super hyped for Fairy Tale 100-Year Quest and the Black Butler series, which I think is what triggered all the Black Butler talk. And
Yep.
Pop Girl also says that she's working on a piece of fan art.
That's awesome.
Now, I'm curious, with your experience, especially being fairly new into artist alleys, have you gone around to other artists and started talking with them, getting ideas on setups or different methods that they use, especially where you're still learning the digital side of things? Have you had a chance to talk with other artists around you at the conventions for, as I mentioned, tips, tricks?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very lucky that like when I first got into Artist Alley last year, I had someone helping me, holding my hand the whole way. That was like a tremendous help. But at Rhode Island Comic Con, I got to know a lot of like my Artist Alley neighbors, and they were all so nice. And like I they have all been so helpful with like, giving a lot of valuable info and like feedback on things. A lot of times they'll yell at me to raise my prices, but
I will probably end up doing if that's the case, I will probably end up doing the same.
yeah,
From the con mom place.
yes. No, because I having it been my first year last year doing it, I was so nervous. I'm like why would someone pay $20 for a print of my artwork? I'm like, I mentally cannot picture it. I just don't understand. But like I had no idea that people would actually want to buy my art. And then after doing Otakon, I was very pleasantly surprised. I actually had someone who actively reads my webcomic come up to me at Otakon, and they like were pointing out the merchant, like all the merch I had for my comic by name. And I was like, I'm gonna cry. Oh my god. But no, like all the other artists have been absolutely amazing. There's like a big artist alley Discord as well. And it's been like absolutely invaluable with like the information. Um, there's all kinds of I just like look through the Discord when I have like downtime because I just absorb all the information from everyone else. I'm like it's really helpful.
I know, and I do know that there's also an artist alley Facebook page that my wife belongs to, where she's gotten a lot of information and stuff. She's recently taken a step back from selling, focusing her energy into something else. So we're not sure if she's going to continue selling her art or not. But definitely we've having a true appreciation for what you guys do as artists, where I've seen the amount of hours that my wife has put into her stuff, everything.
Mhm.
And she does multimedia, so she does digital, she does traditional, some paintings, sketching, things of that nature. And it's amazing the ideas that you guys can think of and then be able to put it to paper. It's like I can't even draw like a stick figure right.
My
So
fiance always says the same thing.
what your fiance and I are probably, your fiance is probably gonna end up like me and be the booth babe where you're the artist. People walk up, be like, "Are you the artist?" And no, she's over there.
Yeah, he's been very helpful every time he's with me at a table. He is just as excited about like Final Fantasy and everything as I am. So he's very good at talking to people, and sometimes I kind of get a little shy. He's very good at helping with that. But yeah, it's I always tell him it's funny because he's like, I can't draw a stick figure for shit. And I'm like, but when we play Jackbox, it's always the stick figures that win because they're the funniest. There's still an art in stick figures.
I mean, just look at what is the Cyanide and Happiness. It does like the stick figure stuff.
Yes.
Oh, yep.
Mhm.
So there's still the, as you said, the art in stick figures.
Yep. The delivery is half of it.
And then I think there was a YouTube theory, stick figures on crack or something like that. That
I
was
remember
hysterical.
those videos. Oh my god. That
I'm
takes
going
me
back in time.
Yeah. That is early YouTube.
Yup.
There are times I'll still go back and watch that
Now
just for the pure stupidity.
the chat, people in the chat have still been talking about anime. Did you actually get to see The Boy and the Heron?
I haven't seen it yet.
It is fantastic. Highly recommend. John Knight says that's going to be eventually released to Netflix and HBO Max.
Oh, awesome.
And then Pop Girl continuing the anime conversation says if you're into the
Murder mystery.
genre, then Black Clover's another good anime recommendation.
Murder
also haven't
Mystery,
seen-
Black Clover. Really? I don't see the connection there. I watched most of it.
I don't know. I've not watched Black Clover. And then now you're being asked, what is your favorite dubbed anime?
Ooh, dubbed? I'm gonna have to say Psychopaths. I think it's probably my favorite dub so far. I think they did a really, really good job with it.
I loved.
And Pop Girl is clarifying Black Butler is murder mystery, Black Clover is fantasy.
I was about to say.
Oh, you know what? I think that is me. I think that is me misreading the order of chats. So that is probably accurate. But Psychopaths was a good one, and one I really enjoyed as well.
It was so good. It's very hard to top that for me. This is such a the way it goes so in depth with like everything psychological and like how people's minds work. I was like, this is just it's so cool. Such a cool concept.
And they executed it perfectly.
They really did, yeah.
Because there's a couple of ones that came out recently that get into some of those morality and psychological concepts, but the execution just isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And pause for a moment for a quick show ID.
Hello, this is Sebastian Michaelis, and you're listening to Anime-Zing Radio on the
These are old IDs from way back when I first started the show. I was on a network called Hazy Radio, which no longer exists. And I was able to save a few of the ones from the original network. shut it off before it gets radio because we're not on Hazy anymore.
And YouTube gives us a video platform where we can show off art and cosplays and all the things.
And again, we are so excited to have Aetherix joining us. And what I know that you said that you've always been interested in art, and your mom was an artist as well. What really drew you to wanting to do the Final Fantasy art? Was it just the fact that you loved the game so much that you wanted to express your creativity into it, or?
100%. Yeah, that's exactly it. So it was one of the first games I got into. My sister just got Final Fantasy VII. I was watching her play it, and I just like absolutely fell in love with it. And I probably play the original like once a year, maybe every other year, just because I love it and I love going back to it. But she also got me into, I played 8. I didn't finish 9. Played 10. We did play 11. And then 12 I played recently with my fiance. I'd never played 12, but him and I were playing the remastered version. It was really good. But
the international version is the one I ended up playing because the first time I played 12 did not go well.
Oh no.
I played 10. I played 9, 10, 10 2. Only completed 9 partially because I was sleeping on the couch at a friend's house for a couple of months, and they had the game, so I watched them play, and they're like, "Oh, here, try it. We have an extra save spot, so you can play it too if you want." Which then led me to buying the game and wanting to complete it. And I loved the game. I thought 9 was fantastic.
9 is really good, yeah.
In fact, the Dane Tribal was the first. I did it as a Halloween costume, but I guess you could consider it a cosplay, but I didn't know what cosplay was back then. But that was the first character I ever dressed up as from a video game or anime.
That's cool.
And I think the next year I dressed up as Inuyasha.
I think it was like 4 or 5. My mom made me a Sailor Moon costume for Halloween. I guess that's technically my first cosplay.
Yep. Final Fantasy X is the first video game I played myself and beat start to finish. Subsequently, 10 has a special place in my heart.
I kind of feel left out. I've never played Final Fantasy, period.
That's okay. There's always time for you to start.
And now you know how I feel when you guys go off on Pokemon rants.
Well, that's more Darren than me.
Yes,
well, I
but
got
you
a
at
late
least
start in that too, but I exploited the hell out of the rest of the games once I actually had time to mess with them.
Or if we go on the isekai rant.
That too.
That's you.
I am isekai trash, I won't lie. Speaking of which, I'm still trying to catch up on Jobless Reincarnation. Watched a couple more episodes this week. I think we're into the 20s now.
So right as it gets good.
This past week I watched between all the things going on, I did not watch any anime after Sunday.
I was playing catch up today.
I did watch all 12 episodes of Chained Soldier, which I know was just dropping, and that was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And I believe there's going to be some guests at Anime Boston from Chained Soldier, so I wanted to have at least know what that was about. Gushing over magical girls, I think I'm caught up on that.
Episode.
Yeah, I'm caught up. I'm waiting for the last episode of that to drop. That is still one of those. I'm not sure why I'm watching it, but like Angelo likes to say, I've gotten too far to drop it now.
The sunken cost fallacy.
By the way, Doug, you do know Chain Soldier was confirmed for a second season, right?
I did hear that, yes. As was Freerin.
No surprise there. Well deserved.
And I know, Angela, you're taking some time before you start Freerin, but I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Okay.
No, John.
The chat is suggesting, or John Knight in the chat is suggesting you watch Reborn as a Vending Machine, and it is actually a running thing that I refuse to watch this anime on principle.
The title sounds fun.
I will speak from experience on behalf of me and my wife, who both watched it. And my wife is like Angela, not the biggest fan of isekai genre. I watched it hoping it was going to be crap, and it was actually really, really good. It had no right being as good as it was.
Huh.
I was actually disappointed it was that good.
I can't bring myself to do it. That's one of those I just not my I'm not even going to say it's bad. I'm just going to one give you a hard time, Doug, because isekai trash, and two, just that whole genre, it's not for me.
Now I know you watched Trash Taste, Angela. Did you see not the most recent episode that dropped this Friday, but the episode from last Friday?
I've seen I haven't watched any of their stuff recently. I catch clips here and there because Joey and Connor both periodically do stuff with Chris Broad,
Yeah,
and we stay caught up with Chris Broad more than anybody else.
and they were playing a game where their editors and staff came up with statements, and they had to put down whether they strongly agreed, neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree. And one of the statements that came up is all shonen is the same.
Oh God, did all three of them strongly agree with that?
No, I think Joey strongly disagreed, Connor disagreed, and Gigik agreed.
I enjoy a good shonen. Don't get me wrong, but I will agree. I will say that a lot of it really does get to a point of very similar at times.
But I think that's just media nowadays. Like, you can say isekai, you can say romance, you can say whatever you want to. Once they find a formula that works, everybody's going to copy that, and you're going to get that little bit different
And
story or character, but it's going to be the same, formula
now
throughout
we're
the
in
show.
now we're in the tournament arc. I say this, and My Hero Academia comes back in a few weeks.
Even Freerin had a tournament arc.
In the chat, John Knight is asking you if you watched Demon Slayer.
I've seen a few episodes of the dub of the first season, and I really liked it. And then I guess I think something came up, or like some game came out, and I ended up getting distracted, and I didn't actually get to finish it. But I did really like it. The animation is absolutely beautiful.
And none of your business expands on my commentary. Tournament arc, school arc, training arc.
The beach episode.
The beach episode isn't as prominent as what it used to be.
Agreed. And the next one question for you is: did you watch Fruits Basket?
I watched the original Fruits Basket. I have not seen the new one yet.
And then Pop Girl in the chat is agreeing that almost every anime has a tournament arc in some fashion.
Yeah, like I said, even Freerun had its own little tournament arc, and even some of the isekais have tournament arcs nowadays. And going to the Fruits Basket dub question from John Knight, I enjoyed both the original Fruits Basket and the. I didn't finish the new one, but I watched most of it, and I kind of liked the new one to a point better than the original because it was more serious. It kept some of
Especially
the
the
same
manga.
nuances, but it stayed. What was that, Darren? Stayed true to the manga.
Yep, stayed more true to the source material.
Uh,
Now, do you collect like any video game merchandise? I don't know if there's Final Fantasy figures and stuff. I know that Genshin Impact has figures and stuff like that. Do you collect any of that merchandise to use as reference for your art as well, or?
So I do have a few. I have a cloud figurine. I have 13-2 Lightning in her armor. That's one of my favorite ones. I don't have a lot of merch, just because I haven't had like the money to shell out. Although someday I will get a big Sephiroth figurine eventually. I wanted to get it in the collector's edition for Rebirth, but I was like, I can't spend that much money right now. But no, it is nice having like stuff as reference. But sometimes what I do for references, I will open the game and I will go into photo mode and I will zoom in on like all the details and parts of the outfit that I need. Really, really needed that one when I was doing Final Fantasy 16 fan art because all the details on like the armor and everything, there weren't a lot of references out yet. So I also wanted to avoid finding spoilers because I was still in the middle of the game. But yeah, using photo mode for references has been huge, but I don't have too much merch, but hopefully we'll get more down the road.
And because I've always found it interesting because I collect figures, um, big into figures, not as big as some of the other people that I know. In fact, our friend Rob, who was on last week, I think did he say he had over 300 figures?
Oh my
Something like
gosh.
that.
I
And my
remember it being a ridiculous number.
And
and
90% of it was idle.
and my friend Alan, I think, owns just as many. I'd have to look at
And
his. I'd have to look at his.
and then
What
we
do you
have
call it?
and then the
Figure
next
collection.
and then another question from the chat is, do you collect anime Blu-rays?
I do not. Honestly, I have a big collection of like VHS and DVD, but I haven't collected any Blu-rays.
And for our younger members out there who may not know what VHS is, it's what DVDs were before they were DVDs.
Oh, the days
The
of
VCR.
VCR.
Mm-hmm.
Please be kind. Rewind the Blockbuster days.
Oh my
I still
gosh.
have my VCRs.
I do not.
I don't think I have a VCR anymore.
But and the only anime DVDs I own is Serial Experiments Lane.
And at some point, you'll get the Ruby collection.
I could have spent the money on the like a collectible edition, but again, that was at a point when I could not justify the expense.
That's
I
where
think we've
I'm at.
all been there.
Um,
I could get that, but I'll be even broker. So I'm not gonna.
um,
I've got to be responsible.
that said, speaking of Ruby, I believe somewhere, probably tacked to a corkboard on my wall with all of my convention badges, is Monty Ohm's signature on one of my PAX badges from
Oh
that
my
year,
god.
from one of the years he was there. Going back to the VHS commentary, None Your Business says, Our old Blockbuster still has the night drop slot. It's a liquor store now, but the relic is still kind of there. It's still there and kind of funny.
My God, I remember all that. I remember usually going and trying to, like, right around the time Inuyasha first started coming out on Adult Swim, I would try to find anything Inuyasha because I got friends of mine had that on when we would have game nights, and that was truly my gateway anime into the anime world. So it was the time frame. It was like Witch Hunter Robin, followed by Inuyasha, and then Fooly Cooly. And that was usually like the hour and a half that I was at their house playing cards. And going to Blockbuster trying to see if they had any VHSs of the show or asking if they could get some in was always funny because they'd look at you funny going, I've never even heard of this. And John Knight in the chat says ReZero Season 3 is scheduled for October 2024. I couldn't get into Season 2 of ReZero.
ReZero is a franchise that I just never got into.
I somehow made it through Season 1, but Season 2 I just couldn't get into. And I'm also one of those weird people who I like Amelia better than Ram or Rem. And I know that those two get all the attention, but I just thought Amelia was a better overall character. And I'm not just saying that because I know Kaylee Mills, who voiced her in English. I just like the character better.
Circling back a bit, knowing that you've watched a fair amount of older anime, is there any particular anime that has inspired you in any way or affected your art?
I'm trying to think. I think the biggest one would probably be Magic Knight Rayearth. I remember when I was younger, I had the first 3 volumes of the manga, and I used to just like get my sketch pad out and I would try to just like redraw like some of the pages from the manga or like the cover art. But that's kind of just like what I think like what inspired me the most when I was younger, like getting into that style of drawing. But I loved like how the characters look. I love like the clamp art style. But everyone just had like really cool armor and weapons, and I was like, I love this. So I was like, I think that definitely carries over into a lot of like, I guess there's probably some inspiration in my webcomic a little bit, but.
And what got you interested in doing a webcomic?
So originally, I had a like character in World of Warcraft, and I wanted to just like come up with like lore for his backstory. And then eventually I kind of expanded upon that, and I ended up having like a whole like bunch of other characters in a plot. And then I was like, I should probably separate this from World of Warcraft and make it its own separate thing, because I kind of like it as its own standalone story. And then suddenly I just had a whole story, and I'm like, I really like webtoons. So at the time I wanted to make my own. And the first time I did a rendition of my comic, it was really bad. So bad. I every now and again, if I'm feeling down on my art, I will go and look at my old panels from like 2018 because it makes me feel so much better. But I just was really excited about, like, the characters I made, and, like, I kinda wanted to, like, create just, like, this cool fantasy world and, like, lore for, for me when, like, I'm going through something difficult, like, it helps me being able to get lost in some kind of, like, fantasy world, like a book or a game, and so I was like, if I can, create that for something create that for somebody else, I think that would be really cool. So, I have redone my comic 3 times. Um, I'm finally I'm sticking with it. I'm not gonna redo it again. It's where it's at, and I'm happy with that. But, it's been through a lot of different editions, and it's changed quite a lot since I first started, but I've also learned a lot as I've gone through, so
And it's interesting to hear you talking about how like World of Warcraft kind of helped to inspire your webcomic, and it's interesting to hear that a lot of different video games have played a very important role in your creativity side.
yeah, there's a lot I could, like, attribute to, like, with inspiring my comic in general, like, obviously Final Fantasy is a big one, Tales of Xillia is another one. I Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, very, very heavily inspired. There's a lot of time travel in my comic. And I love how Chrono Trigger handles that. So that has definitely played like a big part in inspiring it. Trying to think what other games. Yeah, definitely World of Warcraft. Um,
And here our parents thought that all of these hours on video games would be put to waste.
I know it's funny when I first started going to conventions, my mom was like, why would you spend so much money? Like it's such a waste. And now she's like, how'd you do with the last con? Like she's very supportive of it now. But like when I first started going, I was just a wee little teenager, and she's like, why are you spending hundreds of dollars on this? And I'm like, because I like it, and I'm surrounded by nerds, and it's nice. But she definitely didn't realize that like it was a viable career path for a while. And so she didn't really take it seriously for a while. And now she's like, how can I help? Do you need me to like, help stuff plushies or pillows? Do you need me to like bag keychains? Do you need me to cut stickers? And I'm like, it's a very nice change because she's seeing like how happy it makes me. So it's been very nice.
That is awesome. It's great when you can have your family around you support what you're doing. And all of us know people that are artists or go to these conventions where they don't really have that support system.
Mhm.
So I know
Yep.
it's a very important thing, especially to help keep confidence up and keep you going forward.
Back
Mhm.
in the day, before I met all of you guys, I had a friend who at the time was trying to make a living selling stuff in the artist alley, and I was helping them. And her family was not nowhere, and just talking to all the artists, her family was not as supportive as most. Her husband was basically one of the people behind the table, but that was about it. And it was even back then there was a lot of networking. There was a lot of artists in the artist alley definitely did support each other back then. But there was also a lot of everyone had their little groups, and if you didn't fit in with a particular group, it could be not a lot of fun.
Mm.
I'm sure the advancements in social media has changed that.
Hopefully. I mean, I
'Cause
haven't been in
'cause
the
we're
defending side
talking
of things in a while.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
same. We're talking like pre-2012.
Uh, I think the last time that I was really like vendor side of things, like somewhat helping my wife with her art, but at the same time I had two other tables I was kind of managing it as well, was Rail City last year. That was definitely crazy, but
Yep.
it was good crazy.
We like good chaos.
So, on a convention note, knowing that you've been attending conventions for quite a while in some capacity, uh, what would you say is your favorite convention?
Ooh, as an attendee or as a vendor?
Let's go with both. Let's go with
Okay.
attendee, because I know how different those perspectives are.
Yeah, I would say I genuinely think, like, as an attendee, I think Anime Boston is my favorite, mainly because we used to do masquerades so much. It's such, like, the Masquerade community is fantastic. They are so sweet. Being backstage with everyone and like getting to just like hang out and see like what everyone's working on and see people so proud of like all the stuff they've, you know, put their heart and soul into. It's a very cool feeling to be back there, and I'm very sad this year because I don't get to go watch Masquerade this year. But I think AB has like the highest production value for Masquerade that I've seen compared to a lot of cons, and you can really tell how much work they've put into it. So I think that would be my favorite as an attendee. As for vending, I don't have a lot to really go off of, but I would definitely say Otakon because it was just so like the last time I had been to Otakon, it was still in Baltimore and was not a good time. um, but so being there in DC this time, it was so much fun. I didn't really get to do much because the hours were really long there. But the attendees there were so nice. I had a lot of people talking to me about like Final Fantasy 14, and someone came up and they're like, "What class do you play? Like, what's your main?" And I told them like I mainly play Astrologian. And so they went to another part of the artist alley, got me this beautiful gold pin for my class, and they brought it back to me and they're like, "This is for you because I know you can't really get up and go shopping, and I thought you would like this." And I was like, what the fuck? That's so nice. I'm gonna cry. Like, oh my god. But also, like, that person I mentioned before who actively read my webcomic, getting to meet someone who already knew who I was a very surreal feeling. I was like, "Oh, this is weird and a little overwhelming, but like really cool at the same time." Her and I are now friends. We've played Final Fantasy 14 together, which it's really cool how things end up working out that way. But I just the vibe at Otakon last year as a vendor was just so overwhelmingly positive. I wasn't stressed out. I like my table mate was amazing, and like my roommate came with me as my helper, and it was just so much fun. Like the road trip down, like everything about it was perfect, and I'm very excited to go back again this summer. So
And one thing that Angela and I have talked a lot about on the show, especially when from the vendor side of things, is how important the staff is at these conventions. A good staff, especially in an artist alley, where they come around, they check on you. They're there to offer water, cover your table if you need to use bathroom breaks. Because there's times where I've tabled by myself for a convention for the podcast, and having a good staff can make even the smallest con feel really, really good and leave a really positive experience. At the same time, a bad staff or one bad staff member giving you a bad experience can ruin a con for you for life.
absolutely, yeah. I would say Rhode Island Comic Con had the best staff for like, not that I have a ton of experience as a vendor, but the staff there, they were so nice. They kept coming around introducing themselves. And like, if you need anything, if you need me to watch your table, if you need me to go get you water or a snack. And I was like, you guys are so nice. Oh my God, this is amazing. Thankfully, I had someone there helping me, but it was just really nice to see like how much they care. The staff at RACC is fantastic. They're all so sweet.
I kind of feel bad because before I moved to Pennsylvania last July, I was attending on average probably 10 to 15 cons a year,
Oh my
not
gosh.
counting pandemic. And some of the conventions that we frequented, the promoters of them and the owners of them have been reaching out about, hey, are you going to be coming back this year? And it's like, I can't. I'm sorry. With my new job, I never know fully when I'm going to be working because I have a job with a major railroad. So, like I was mentioning, I may have to use some sick time to be able to make Anime Boston next weekend. But we'll see how everything goes.
I hope it all works out.
And but there's so many good cons out there, and don't count out the small cons either.
That was actually where I was gonna go next, but I'll interrupt that thought because in the chat John Knight pointed out that Anime Boston did the English dub premiere of Attack on Titan, and that was 10 years ago.
Oh my god.
I remember when they did that.
I remember that.
And
I remember hearing about it.
now that being said, I mean, around here we've got the really tiny cons, we've got the small-ish cons, and then we've got some of the big ones. And then you've got like what I will label as industry cons at this point. Like your New York Comic Con, your San Diego Comic Con, your PAX style cons.
I apply to all of them, and whichever ones I get in, I go. But I still apply to little ones too. There was a little local one in Norwich, Connecticut. It was CT Collecticon. It was like pretty small, but everyone there was so nice. All the like vendors and like the staff and everything, everyone was so sweet. And like it was nice because like it was local enough where like I had extra inventory from Otakon. I was like, yeah, I can drive an hour and just set up. The table is cheap, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. So it was totally worth it. But I know a lot of the smaller cons are nice because like the local ones, I see a lot of familiar faces already coming back at every con, and I'm like, oh my god, you're here! Like it's so good to see you. It's really cool to see people come back. They're like, oh, you have new stuff now.
At one convention that's a smaller con, I don't know if you have a limit to how far you want to drive based off of the size of the conventions.
Oh, I'll fly.
But Vermont Gatherings puts on multiple events every year up in like the Burlington, Vermont area. And they have, I think your art style and the stuff that you do would be perfect for their sci-fi and fantasy expo.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
We vended that a couple of times. My wife has vended selling her artwork. I've also been there a few times with the podcast doing live shows right from the convention. And I honestly think that your artwork would fit great in that with their theming.
That would be really cool.
And it'd be kind of a new area to branch out to, still in New England. I'm not sure how far of a drive that is, but that's Vermont Gatherings is a group that we've worked with for a long time.
Depending on what part of the state you are currently in, because I do not remember, because it's been that long. I don't know if Burlington is closer or further than it is for me.
It's about 4 hours for me.
Because I remember getting up there was a hike, but I'm also in this city.
I'll definitely look into it though. I'm trying to find like any event I can.
Yeah, no, there's a variety. Actually, this is where that whole everybody talks to everybody in the convention scene at this point. An acquaintance of mine is actually on the staff for Anime-Zing as well.
Oh, I haven't looked into Anime-Zing yet.
That's another. I believe post-COVID and due to some staff issues, they did a rebrand and are smaller now.
Oh,
but definitely worth looking into.
And John Knight in the chat asks, have you watched the Spy Family dub?
I have not. I haven't seen most recent anime just because I've been so busy, but it's definitely on my list.
I just sent you a link. I don't know if it copied correctly.
Let me see.
To look at Vermont Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo. If it didn't, let me know. But
oh, there it is. Yep, it did load.
Yay! Spy Family's adorable.
Yeah, it's one
I've
of
been told
it's
it's really wholesome.
It's one of the few animes that all three of us have actually watched.
Also, as I know you've done cosplay and masquerades, another one to check out if you haven't is My Dress Up Darling.
I've been told to watch it. Haven't seen it yet.
Do it.
And also knowing that you have done masquerades at Anime Boston, I'm guessing that you probably know some friends of ours here, twin brothers Hatake and Sahara.
I do not know.
They have been doing masquerades for, I want to say, I'm guessing probably close to 10 years, if not longer. And typically they finish like top 2 in the master's class. I think they've been like second place the last 2 or 3 years in a row at Anime Boston
Oh wow.
in the master's
Yeah,
class.
I haven't been to AB since before COVID, but do they normally do craftsmanship or performance, or do they do both?
Craftsmanship.
Okay. I mostly know people from performance, but
Okay.
I'm sure if I saw one of their costumes, I would probably know.
Knowing that you're into gaming, when I met them, they did Star Fox cosplays. Full
Oh, that's
fursuit
cool.
Star Fox.
That's awesome.
But they've done a lot of other stuff since then, and really amazing people. We've had them on the show quite a few times.
Excuse me.
I've only been a part of 2 masquerades, and neither time did it go that well.
It's still a fun experience.
But it's still fun.
Yeah, we've had some that like didn't go as well as we planned, but it's really cool to just like see what everyone's working on. And it was cool because like when we started getting into it and doing masquerade, there weren't always like a ton of like there were dance skits, but there weren't necessarily like more like contemporary ballet style. So I think that's kind of something that like I don't want to say that my friend and I like pioneered this or started it, but I think we helped like encourage more of that because we started seeing more and more like, you know, like interpretive dance skits. Like the idol dances and stuff are cool, and like the vocalay dances and stuff are not to discredit them at all, but it was like it was cool to see like people trying to do more like an interpretive or like expressive style of dance. And that's like what we used to do in masquerade, and it was nice to like last time we went to masquerade, it was really cool to see more of that because I come from like a classically trained dance background, so I was very excited to see more dance skits like start to pop up as the years went on.
It's kind of neat too to see how, you know, as time's gone by, how conventions have changed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from, you know, attendance getting bigger, seeing a lot of different conventions come and go. Obviously, COVID had a lot to do with some conventions not coming back. But I think since the pandemic, it's nice to see that like the convention world is starting to recover and get back to where it was pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And John Knight in the chat asking more anime questions for you, asking, have you seen the Duke of Death and his maid?
I have not. I need to really get back into watching more anime. I kind of like. I guess
This
I
is
think
what
that I
happens when
got.
we come on an anime-based show.
That's fair, yeah. I kind of like watching anime definitely took the back burner a couple years ago because I got like super hard back into MMOs and it just consumed my life. So
kind of going back to World of Warcraft, because I tried World of Warcraft. I didn't enjoy the game. It was not for me.
that's fair.
But I have a lot of friends that are at various points were super into it. I have to ask, did you play Alliance or Horde?
I was Horde, still am. I don't hate Alliance, but I play Horde.
My wife has a Horde tattoo.
That's awesome. I've wanted to get one, but I'm like,
And
money.
she got that at a convention.
Oh, that's cool. Was it like
a
a flash tattoo?
It was a local tattoo artist in a small town in New York was there at the local Comic-Con, and we were vending at that convention. She's like, okay, if we hit a certain goal in sales on Sunday I'll go get a tattoo.
That's awesome.
Kind of as a reward for hitting this goal, and
Yeah.
we hit the goal, so she went and was able to get the horde tattoo.
That's
and
cool.
John in the chat says this year marks the 20th anniversary of World of Warcraft.
Wow. I
I'm trying to
didn't
think
know
when.
that.
I'm trying to think when did I think I started. Oh, when Burning Crusade came out. When was that?
I feel old.
Yeah.
I've played it a little bit. My wife was really big into it. My ex-brother-in-law was huge into it.
That being
Mhm.
said, one of the expansions, the Cataclysm expansion, released on my birthday that year. I do not remember what year that was. And subsequently, the nerd contingent of my Facebook feed all asked if that's what I was doing for my birthday.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think I started around like 2008. I used to play with my brother, and then I took a break for a while because I got into like other MMOs. I played a lot of Guild Wars, a lot of Maple Story, Final Fantasy 14, and then I came back to WoW because my fiance got me into it again. But it's like one of those things like you keep coming back to it over and over.
I did Guild Wars for a little while.
I love that game.
There is a my friend, my friend the artist we had a guild, and we were doing one of the dungeons, and
Leroy Jenkins.
well, no, not quite. But the guys were number crunching what everyone needed to do to optimize our success rate. And someone pointed out that I had a special ability, as they purposely gave me the fighter class because I could use any weapons. And they're one of them realized that I had a special ability thing that I didn't know I had, because my response to all of this was, wait, I'm supposed to do more than just hit things and help make sure the caster doesn't go down.
Oh boy.
Between that and and me running around with a giant hammer that I never took off the holiday skin for, so I was literally running around with a giant candy cane.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Now, from the RPG gaming side of things, there was one other RPG that I had played. I think it's RPG style game. It was like a Final Fantasy style game called YS Arc of Nephisdom.
I've actually heard of it. I've never played it, but I have heard of it.
That's the only other game of that style that I played and actually completed. And it was actually a fun game from what I can remember. That's back in the PlayStation days.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you played, because you mentioned one of the Tales games earlier. Have you played through the entire franchise, or?
I haven't played all of them, so I've played a little bit of Symphonia when I was younger. I still have it on GameCube, and I fully intend to go back to it and finish it. But I've played all the way through Xillia. I played a little bit of Zestiria, but I played it on PS3, but it came out on PS3 and PS4, and my poor PS3 wanted to die. So it did not run well. The frame rate was very low, so I couldn't like get into it because it just wasn't really playable at the time. But I don't have anything against the game. I'd like to go back and play the PS4 version at some point. But I did play Berseria. I really like Berseria. But I think Xillia and Xillia 2 are my favorites.
Because the two that I have finished, one was Tales of Arise.
Oh yes, how could I forget Tales of Arise? Yes. Oh my god. It's really good.
I actually loved that game. And then
Very good.
And why am I blanking on the other one? I cosplayed from one of them, and I'm blanking on.
It's only a character I might.
The character I cosplayed was Raven, the old man, basically the old man comic relief.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm
I
gonna
have no
look.
idea.
I'm gonna look this up because this is really bothering me now.
While you're
Uh,
looking that up, we want to remind everybody Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you by HomeCircleMedia.com for the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencils, stationery, and officially licensed art books from Japan. Check out HomeCircleMedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. And we're also brought to you tonight by Triple S Lawn Care. If you're in the Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina area and you need some quality lawn care, reach out to Triple S Lawn Care. They'll take care of your yard for a great price, great service. Just reach out to Darren. He'll hook you up.
There we go. I knew I remember. Tales of Vesperia is the other one.
yes, that is on like my play soon list.
Vesperia was a lot of fun. My friend cosplayed as Rita the Mage, and I cosplayed as the comic relief character, and that was a lot of fun.
That's amazing.
But that is a really fun franchise, and I too need to go back and play more of them.
It really is. Yeah. It's funny because I played like a bit of Symphonia. My reintroduction to the like franchise as a whole. It's so funny because I bought Tales of Xillia in a bundle at GameStop. And it was like buy 2 games, get another free or something, or like get it for like $10. And so I was looking through the shelf and I was like, okay, I like the art on the cover. This looks cool. So I took it home. I tried it. But the problem was, so for Xillia, you can play either as the main male character or the main female character. And I didn't know that you really should start as the male character if you want to get like a more coherent story, because I think the main female character, her story is meant to supplement his. So I started with hers. I was so lost because it kept jumping around and skipping things in between. So I was like, I have no idea what's happening. And to me, I was just like, I don't like this. Like, I'm not enjoying it. It's just kind of not good storytelling. But so eventually, a few years later, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it another shot because my friend said it's good. So I tried from the male character's POV, and I loved it so much, and I ended up playing through the whole thing, and then I went through and played it again from Mila's point of view, and it all made so much more sense. I was like, okay, you definitely were meant to play through her story second to like supplement the story from his point of view, and so it was getting all the extra stuff playing through her story and like scenes and like lore that you don't get on the other side. I was like, this is actually really cool. And it easily has become one of my favorite games. I'm glad I went back to it instead of just being like, no, this sucks. I'm going to put it down.
Yep. I think all of us have a story very similar to that.
Have a good night, Pop Girls. Pop Girl says, all right, everyone, I'm heading out really late here. Have fun all. I hope you have a wonderful night. And as a special treat coming up on April 7th, we're looking at doing our 10-year anniversary show. And Pop Girl has confirmed that she is going to be joining us for some of that.
Ooh.
Yep. And John Knight is pointing out in the chat that today is Palm Sunday, making next Sunday during Anime Boston Easter.
It sure is. Very often it ends up on Easter.
Yep.
I think next year, where you're saying that it's going to be Memorial Day weekend instead of Easter weekend, it's going to be the first time in many years that it didn't fall on Easter.
It's going to be a few. It's going to be like 3 or 4 because one of the Anime Bostons we had press, it was Memorial Day. Or maybe that was the year before.
I always like when it's later because Boston in March, it's not spring yet. it could snow.
Depends on the year.
I remember one year, my wife and I were cosplaying from the anime Cat Planet Cuties, and it was very thin layers. And it was the year of LineCon outside.
Oh no!
Where we were directed outside to go in, and then because the line was so long, we got moved to another door, and then got moved to another door. And I had some homeless dude come up to me, and I'm wearing like this like practically spandex suit. I have no pockets. He's like, dude, you got money. I know you do. I'm like, I don't even have pockets. Where would I keep any money or anything?
Oh my gosh. I remember that year. The traffic through the Prudential was a problem, and so that's when they were like lining everyone up outside and around the whole building, and it was insane.
And we ended up going in through a door I didn't even know existed.
Was it the back like Sheraton door into the artist alley?
No, I think it was. I think it might have even looped out around the building to the point where we went in, like where the escalators are. You have the ones that go down
Oh,
to the
on the
outside entrance there.
backside of the Heinz, yeah.
Yeah. So we had ended up being rerouted like 3 times to go to the backside of the Heinz and going in that door.
That is such a walk if it's cold and windy. Ugh.
And we became
Yep.
part of the duck boat tours, which was hysterical.
Oh my gosh.
Because as they're going by, they're like, and if you look to your right, you'll see a bunch of people dressed in costumes. I have no idea why.
Yep.
But that the fun times. That's the kind of different stories you get from going to the conventions, and I'm sure you can appreciate the all the different aspects of conventions now, where you've gone as a cosplayer and been in the masquerade. You've just gone to attend and have fun, and now you're going from a business standpoint as an artist, and the setup, the takedown, all the hours logged in the artist alley, getting to meet everybody, and it really opens your eyes up to multiple aspects of conventions. I think a lot of people don't ever think about.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's really cool to see like the other side of things, because like I've been going to con since 2011, I think, or was it 2009? One of the Kineticons. I can't remember when. Time is irrelevant at this point, but
So true.
I remember like I was so like in awe, and just like my first con, I was like, oh my god, like other people like this stuff besides me. That's so cool. And now like I think the coolest thing on like the other side of it is like I mean, when I walk by like an artist alley table and I see like a character I really like or really cool art, I get so excited. So it's cool to be on the other side of that and have someone get excited about my stuff. And it's really cool. There's so many things that like it's even like going through like the loading dock and the back hallways of the convention that you don't normally get to see as an attendee. You're just like, whoa, this is what the inside of Kineticon looks like. This is so weird.
Yeah. I can totally agree with that. I haven't vended at Kineticon, but even being like press for Kineticon, we've been press for them with them for many years. I want to say at least 6 or 7 years. We've been lucky enough to be pressed with Kineticon, and being able to see some of the behind the scenes, and being able to get interviews with the guests, like private one-on-one interviews, not just the press room stuff, is always amazing to see what goes on behind the scenes. And it gives you more of an appreciation for what the staff has to do too.
100%, yeah.
And that's kind of, it's a really interesting perspective shift. Going to a convention just as an attendee versus versus volunteering or working for one of the vendors, versus one of the vendors or one of the like event groups, versus being part of the actual convention staff.
And at some point we'll be guests. I know you like to say Anime, but I still didn't feel like a guest. I want to have the full guest experience at some point. Once we get big enough.
I was gonna say maybe someday. That's goals, but
That's a good goal. I feel that.
I am I am right now exhausted, but I had a wonderful weekend working PAX. And I do it's love. I love being part of the enforcer team. I love just the whole experience.
And I'm happy that Rob was able to come by and say hi to you, and you got to meet him in person.
Him and so many other friends of ours, friends of mine from all over the years, and getting to sit and play board games with friends in between, that's always a good thing.
One year I'll get out to PAX. Maybe.
PAX is huge.
I saw the lines. I'm like, that looks insane.
It was the keynote panel on Thursday was put on by Matt Pat, which was huge. And then the panel, yet the one of the headlining panels yesterday was the Final Fantasy 14 panel we already talked about,
Mhm.
and that was also huge.
I know that's one Rob was really looking forward to.
Yep.
I'm hoping the next time they have like a big Final Fantasy 14, like a new expansion coming out, I hope next time I'll be able to go to PAX for it. Because every time like a new expansion has come out, I have not been able to go just because it's so expensive. But
PAX is expensive. There are also a lot this year. Actually, a number of the vendors were posting in various Facebook groups that they were looking for people to help out at their tables.
oh,
Where they'll comp your badge, give you it really does depend on the table, the booth.
mhm.
But a number of them were basically paying you X amount per hour for so many hours on top of a badge.
I would love that.
And then it's just a coordinate if that's the one panel you want to do. Look into it for next year and see if, because I understand how expensive conventions have gotten.
Oh, it's yeah, even the table prices have like I haven't been in Artist Alley for very long, but I'm already noticing the table prices just constantly going up. It's insane.
Yeah, that's where going to some of the smaller cons is nice because sometimes the smaller cons are more reasonably priced.
Eh,
Uh,
I think there's some in Connecticut that I've seen that have like I want to say like under 1,000 attendance, and they're trying to charge like I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to have any beef with any cons, but there's some that have very low attendance that are literally charging $300 for their tables, and I'm like, that's what I paid for Otakon last year. That's actually
yeah,
insane.
And that's kind of exactly what I was gonna. I don't know which con you're talking about, and I'm not gonna ask because again, we don't want to shame any conventions here.
Yep.
But at the same time, that's kind of something that's got to be taken into account because for artists, especially those where it's their sole income, it becomes basically a math game of how much for the table, how much for travel cost, how much for just the cost
Mhm.
of materials in some cases, especially for like the crafters, and
Mhm.
how much for travel, hotel, food, all these little things that a lot of people don't take into consideration. And then when you factor it all in, and then when you factor it in, it becomes a how much how much of the money you make is profit at the end of the
Mhm.
day. And
That's
that's
why
where
some of the smaller cons, that's why when they have the higher table prices is I'm like, I don't even know if I'm gonna make that back at this con. But some of them I'm like very presently surprised and I do better than I think. But it depends on like the audience of the convention too. Cause like obviously like with my art, I wouldn't go to like a Star Trek specific convention with Final Fantasy Baldur's Gate art. There may be like some overlap, but not enough to like, oh, like, is this con worth going to, like,
That's why
financially for me?
That's why I think like a Comic-Con or sci-fi fantasy con would work good for your art style. Even something like Northeast Comic-Con, which Angela, I brought you to that one.
Yep, Northeast Comic Con is kind of a little all over the place. In terms of like genre and fandoms.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's
And Gary, the guy who runs it, that was a convention that my wife and I got married at. Was his con when it was in Wilmington, Mass.
Oh,
It's now
that's
in
cool.
Boxborough, and Gary's always put on good shows. He usually brings in some high quality guests, so it's usually pretty busy with the amount of people that come through, and it is all over the place. You'll see, pop figure dealers next to vintage toy dealers, next to comic creators, next to independent authors and independent comics and artists, and then he'll bring in different guests from TV and movies. And the convention that I got married at, the guests included Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees, one of the sisters from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh my gosh.
Barry Boswick was there. In fact, Barry photobombed our wedding.
Oh my god.
So, he brings in some good guests. And another con that might be worth looking into is Saratoga Comic-Con.
I have been looking into that. I could not find their vendor applications online.
I know it gets difficult to get into sometimes. The owner's name is Sam Chase. So if you can reach out to him, and I'm not sure what it looks like for getting in vendor wise. I haven't been to the con in a couple of years, but I have a lot of friends who vend there and have always done well, including another artist / comic creator who created his own RPG. His name is
Oh,
Jay
wow.
Moores, and he's usually a featured artist for Sam's stuff. So I think that would be a good connection for you to talk to, especially where you have the web comic and stuff, and he's got physical comics that grew up to the point of he created his own RPG, which we actually played here on the show. We did a play test of it live.
Oh, that's awesome.
yep.
My first real RPG experience.
Because I've been doing D&D and tabletop role playing games for a long time, and slowly been introducing my other social circles into them. And when we had Jay on the show to promote his art and the game, I got super excited because I love tabletop RPGs. That's my jam. And getting to see Doug roleplay for the first time was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
And I had a lot of beginner's luck.
Yep. Yeah, you did.
Even Jay was like, that wasn't supposed to happen. I think I had a D20 on something that shouldn't have actually hit a 20 on.
Oh my god.
Sometimes the dice just do things that are not supposed to happen. Yep. You played Baldur's Gate, so you understand that.
Oh yes. Yep. I have rolled things on 20s that I didn't think I was going to, and pleasantly surprised by the outcome.
Yep.
In fact, I think I disappointed Jay when I hit that one, just because the game was supposed to continue on from that point, and instead I obliterated the creature that was chasing us.
But it also ended up going over time, so it ended up working out.
Yeah. But we had planned for like a 3-hour show, and it ended at like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that.
But
and then there's always my favorite story of yours of the Bofuri death match.
Oh, that's right.
When you created Maple.
Yep. So I too, I too pull inspiration from other media when I build my role-playing game characters, and I basically took this silly, fun character from an anime and basically went, "What if I built this in D&D for a one-shot battle royale?"
Oh my god.
And I built it so well that I took damage equal to 3 times my total hit points.
Oh my god.
And ultimately, what killed me was forgetting. What killed me was an AOE effect, and me forgetting something I had that would counter the make a dexterity saving throw.
Oh my goodness.
But by that point, it was 2 in the morning, and I was exhausted.
But that anime is called Bo Fury. Knowing that you like the RPGs and stuff like that, you probably would enjoy it.
And we've got some questions from the chat. One is if you've ever watched the anime Banished from the Heroes Party.
I have not. No.
That one I need to catch up on. That one's actually pretty good. And then the other question is, have you ever cried watching an anime?
Oh, 100%, yes. I don't like cry too much when I'm watching things, but the end of Death Parade fucked me up. Honestly. It was very it's something that really hit home, and I just was bawling my eyes out, had to pause one of the episodes, and my fiance was like, "Are you good?" And I'm like, "Honestly, no, but like we'll get there." I'm trying to think of like another anime I cried watching. Oh, FMA, yeah.
Yup.
I'm trying to think. What else?
I will actually agree with Full Metal Alchemist. Although I have some funny stories to counter that one as well. God.
I think the first one that got me was Fairy Tail the movie. I think there was just something I think there was a scene in that I was just like, why am I crying?
And then John Knight says the only anime that ever made him cry was Assassination Classroom. Yeah, I mean that boils down to all the feels, and sometimes just something when you watch it hits really hard.
Uh-huh.
And that's a sign of a good show because it gets you wrapped up to where you really feel a connection with the characters.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like if like a game or a show makes me cry, I love it more because I'm like, yay, like it's making me feel something. Like I love this. It's a sign of good storytelling if you're able to really connect that deeply with people.
If it kind of goes both ways, because if I watch something and I absolutely feel very strongly in a negative way, that means that it did its job. It also was a good piece of content because it made me feel that kind of a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not I liked it is another story, and art is subject, like media and art, it's all subjective.
Yeah, that's one thing that. Oh, go ahead.
I always love, like, in some series, like when you're very much supposed to not like a specific character, and like they and like you would think like, oh, like, you know, you don't like, you know, the characters in the show, but like the storytelling is fantastic, especially when you're not supposed to like them, and they get that across, and like you really like a certain character just like absolutely just grinds your gears. Like I do not like them at all, but that in itself is also good storytelling, because like if it's something that the character does, or like how they act, or like who knows what, it just like adds to it. So like I love series that just like, if I like really like a character, really dislike a character, I am more likely to really enjoy that series, because it's just, I like the extremes there.
And that's one thing that we've talked about on the show too, in defense of the voice actors who because you hear stories of, okay, this voice actor voiced a character that everybody hates, and then the voice actor gets crap because everybody hates this character. But it's like, don't be mad at the voice actor
Oh
for
yeah,
doing their job and making you hate this character. That means they did an
they did a
amazing job
great
at what they
job.
were supposed to do.
I mean, case in point, not from an anime, but Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones. It came up in interviews that the actor who played Joffrey Baratheon literally got what it was getting death threats at one point because of how well he played that character.
Oh my gosh.
And he had to basically go off the grid and actually gave up acting for quite some time as a result
That's
because
so heartbreaking.
he couldn't handle that kind of negativity. But that is the perfect example of a character that was so hated.
But like we said, that means that they just did their job to an extreme level.
Oh, and none your business. Another, they're giving the example of Homelander, and I will 100% agree with that too. The actor did such an that cast. The entire cast of Homelander did such a really good job. And then we're also getting into some of like the morality with the whole yes, it's obvious who the protagonists are, but who's the good guy?
I always love a series that like makes you question like who's actually the villain, who's actually the protagonist.
Because just because you have the protagonist does not mean they're the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And an anime that actually explores that, as much as I did not like the ending, how they ended it, Attack on Titan is another really good example where they turn everything on its head.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you spend multiple seasons thinking there's a set of characters that are the good guys, but only for them to then flip everything on its head and make it so that they're the protagonists still, but they're not the good guys anymore.
Mm-hmm. I always love a series that like, especially in video games when you're playing through it and like, you know, you start off as like the protagonist, you think you're the good guy, and like as you progress through the game, you're like, oh wait, am I the good guy? Am I doing the right thing, or is our party in the wrong? I always love seeing like a series that explores that kind of feeling.
I don't know. Did you actually, when they remade Crisis Core, did you play that one?
I did, yes.
So, because you could make an argument that Sephiroth was right.
I could talk about this for literally like 24 hours straight. Don't get me started.
Like I'm just gonna leave that one at that, because I'm not spoiling anything. I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say he's painted as the villain.
I could write you an entire essay on this. Very, very passionate about this topic in particular.
But that's Final Fantasy. Like I love. For me, video games are an anime, and pretty much most media. For me, it's about the story.
Yes. Yep. If the graphics are okay, but the story is like fantastic, it doesn't matter to me. But also, if it has a banging soundtrack, that's just a bonus.
Exactly. Like for me, there was one anime. The art was gorgeous. The soundtrack was perfect. The writing was so bad, I couldn't watch more than 2 episodes. I hated it.
Oh no.
And
All of the night.
Yep. and Doug's like, you didn't like it, but you agree that the art was good. I'm like, absolutely, the art was gorgeous. And Creepy Nuts is an amazing band.
And the English voice of the main female character is going to be Anime Boston.
But I just could not get into the show because the lack of a good writing.
That's what makes or breaks it for me.
I tried.
and I love the story. My wife loved the story. I think Darren enjoyed it too.
Because that
If he
year,
was awake, he would say it.
that year, both of you put it in your top 5 for that year, and I'm just like, no. That for me, that was the biggest disappointment because I wanted to really enjoy it.
That's why you have your hesitations about Freeman, because everybody's just talked it up so much.
I'm waiting for the hype to die down because I want to go into it without the hype.
Which is understandable.
I did that with Voltron, actually. I didn't get into it until like 2 years ago, and I'm glad that I watched it without the influence of like the hype and like fandom spaces at the time, because I got to enjoy it how I wanted to enjoy it without outside influence, and it was great. I loved it.
Exactly. And as much as I think we talked about this at the time. I love Ruby as a series.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the collective fandom. And the show at the time, basically, I watched it from day one, and just the hype around it, the fandom, it just kind of took. I feel like there is a certain extent that some of it kind of took away
Mm-hmm.
from it because I didn't get to enjoy it the way I wanted to.
Yeah. It's always frustrating when like you're in like a fandom space and other people are telling you how you should consume or enjoy a particular type of media. I've seen a little bit of that with Baldur's Gate, and I'm a little disappointed in some people, but at the end of the day, it's like you were the one playing the game. You were the one watching the show. Like you should be able to enjoy it how you want to enjoy it.
That's also probably why it took me so long to start watching Jobless Reincarnation. My wife and Darren both have been like, you need to watch this for a while. And I just started watching it within the last month.
Exactly.
It's been really good, but I just needed to take my time to watch it when I felt like I was ready to.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And question from the chat, John Knight with another anime-related question asking, have you watched High School DxD?
I have not. No. There's a lot I haven't seen.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm more like old school, like Toonami kid, I guess.
Oh no. And John's picking ones that he knows one of the three of us has watched and really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the High School DxD, that was Darren's big show.
Yep.
Or Show by Rock was my big one.
And we've already touched on one of my big ones that he typically asks.
And also he always asks if you've seen the dub of them. Do you prefer dub or sub when you were watching?
It depends. Like if the dub cast is just like really spot on, sometimes I'll prefer it. Like Psychopaths, they did such a fantastic job. Like not that I dislike the sub version, but that they did such a good job with the dubs that I'm absolutely on board for it. But I think sometimes if like, if it's something I read the manga for, or like, and I'm hearing the voices for the first time and the English voices don't really match up with how I imagine them, I will like swap over to subs because I think it fits better in my head. But like if they do a really fantastic job with the casting for the dubs, like I'll watch either. It depends. I have preferences for some.
For a couple of dubs specifically, for me, one big thing is if I started watching it one way, most of the time I have to finish it in the same.
Yeah.
And then, like, for example, My Hero Academia, we watched the entire series subtitled. And then one of the movies that was in theaters, I accidentally got us tickets to go see it. Or I picked the theater closest to home not realizing I'd gotten tickets for the dub. And it was
Oh.
most of it was perfectly like the movie was still a lot of fun. But it was really weird because not used to seeing that show in that dub.
Mhm.
And then one specific character, how they chose to do the voice just grated on my nerves. And it really just kind of and it did definitely played a part in my opinions.
That's fair. That's why sometimes like I would just
But
prefer
that's
one over the other.
yeah, I think like and dubs have come a long way since the
Oh,
early
yes.
days.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how talented these voice actors are for both the dub and the sub. And I forget the name of the actress, but there's one Japanese voice actor who recently in an anime voiced the same character both in English and in Japanese.
That's awesome.
I think for her to be able to do that, that's in both languages, that's impressive.
It really is.
Because Japanese is not an easy language to learn, neither is English.
Yeah, they're both challenging in their own ways, that's for sure.
Because at one point, I remember seeing a statistic. At one point, English was labeled as the hardest language to learn as a second language.
That's fair. I could see why.
Agreed. But I mean, we primarily speak English.
Okay, the voice actress's name was Sally Amaki, and she voiced the character Carol in Tomo-chan is a Girl.
None your business says question. So what were some of your favorites from the old Toonami? For them, it was Midnight Run with Dot Hack Sign and Cowboy Bebop.
Oh my, I love Dot Hack so much. Oh my gosh. I watched the anime, I played the PS2 games. Ugh, loved it. Trying to think other Toonami shows. I mean Dragon Ball Z was definitely like a big one. Inuyasha, definitely. I never like watched all the way through Naruto, but when it was on, I would watch it. Cowboy Bebop definitely, but when it was like first airing, I was younger and Adult Swim was always way past my bedtime. So I would sneak up and stay up late to watch it.
Trigun.
Trigun, yep.
Trigun was so good.
I haven't watched the new one yet.
It's a very different show.
Mhm.
If you go in expecting it to be a basically a what's the word I'm looking for? If you go in expecting it to be like a remake of the old one, that's good. It's not. It's very much its own show, just using the same characters.
Yeah.
And then the chat John Knight says, this year marks the 27th anniversary of Toonami.
Oh my god.
Yep. And then none your business, I think, going back to my comment about English being the hardest language to learn as a second language, because English, 3 languages in a trench coat.
It really is.
Yep. And then you sound like you watched Wolf Rain.
I have not, but my sister has.
And we are almost out of time. Oh my god, the time just flew by tonight.
Yep.
I
So let's
know.
do the thing we call the shameless plug section.
Oh, I'm bad at this.
This is where you can promote any of the websites, any upcoming conventions where people can find you, how people can get read your web comics. The floor is yours.
Well, I mean, my webcomic is on Webtoon. It's called Wake of Tartarus. You can read it for free. Actually, can I share my screen?
Of course.
Can I do
Absolutely.
that? Okay, let's see. I can pull up my portfolio and just do like a quick run through of because I have a lot of pieces that I haven't posted yet because I've been like super busy. So, how do I do this? Share screen.
What I find works well is if you have it open in another tab, you can click on that.
Okay.
Like I'll put the tab into its own little separate window and then just go to that window.
Okay. Let me see. Oh, it might pull up StreamYard and the audio. Does it play audio when I'm presenting?
Only if you click on include audio.
Okay.
If you don't click on it, it won't play the audio.
Okay. So let me see. Okay. I think I have it. Let me know if
There
it
we
pops up.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Great. Okay, so this is like my main hub. I have an Etsy store. I guess I can plug the link in YouTube after. But I have an Etsy shop where I sell all of my prints. I also have keychains. I have a lot of Baldur's Gate ones now. This is not up to date. I have some Final Fantasy. I have a lot of new Final Fantasy 7 stuff coming for Anime Boston. But I mentioned it before, but I'm working on my webtoon as a novel. I'm hoping to have it ready by the end of the year, but we'll see how timeline goes. But as for upcoming conventions, obviously Anime Boston coming up. I'll also be at Anime-Zing Memorial Day weekend. I'll be at Kineticon, Otakon, Rhode Island Comic Con, and the Paravel Ball, which is a like fantasy romance themed book ball out in LA. Very excited about that one. But yeah, I'm hoping to add more to the schedule as more acceptances come
If
in.
that is
but
the case, have you read the series A Court of
I have.
Roses and Thorns of Roses?
I sure have. I haven't finished it, but I have.
That set of 5 I finished.
I finished A Court of Mist and Fury. I need to start the third one, but I like it. It's good. I need to draw some art from it, but
Yep.
we can talk about this at Anime Boston.
Yes, we can. But when you mentioned a romance book book event, that's what came to mind.
Yep.
But again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been so much fun chatting with you, and I really hope that I can make Anime Boston and I can get to meet you in person.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you guys for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for joining us, and definitely I will see you next weekend.
Yeah. Hopefully we see you also, Doug. I hope everything works out with your
Fingers
schedule.
crossed that my wife and I are able to make it out there. Like I have the hotel booked, I have a babysitter, so it's just figuring out the work side of things and making everything work from there.
Yep.
But until actually next Sunday, we will not have a live show due to the fact that I am planning on traveling back from Anime Boston. So we will be taking next Sunday off. We will be returning April 7th when we are planning on having our 10-year anniversary show. That's right. I've been at this for 10 years. My God, how time has flown. And we have one confirmed guest. Sophia Copen from the UK will be joining us. And I've reached out to a few other people to see if we can get some of our favorite guests from the past to come and join us as well. Also, possibly midweek, we'll be doing an Anime Boston review, talking about the stuff that we experienced at Anime Boston and giving our thoughts and opinions on how the weekend went. So look forward to that as well. Until then, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Stay safe out there. Keep enjoying the anime and everything. And we'll see you again here for more Anime-Zing Radio on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Have a great night, everyone.